Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writers Chat, where we talk about all things writing for writers and by writers. So we're really excited that you're here with us live. We've got a lot of our cohorts in the chat room. They're regulars. But if you take the time and watch this by replay, we really do appreciate that, too. We get a lot of people who enjoy the information on the replay. So if you're here live, feel free to use the chat for any questions as we go along. And like we usually do, we'll bring you all back in towards the end of the hour, and you can ask questions there that maybe didn't get addressed during our talk. And we are excited today. My name's Jean Wise. I'm one of your co-hosts. We have with us Johnny Alexander, another one of our co-hosts, and welcome back, Johnny.
Thank you.
You were missed. She's been gone the last 2 weeks, so we're really glad to see her here. And our good old standby, Bethany Chad.
Hey.
So we're excited today to have a special guest, and I get the honor of introducing her today. And she's more than just a guest, she's a friend. And that's what I was thinking about this morning, that she is a good friend. Her name's Shelley Hitz. And I think, Shelley, we've known each other maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years now over the internet.
I know. We haven't met face to face yet, have we?
No, we got to meet face to face. I feel like I know you well. Isn't that amazing how the internet does that to friendships? You get to know somebody so deeply on that way. But Shelley is an author and a coach and a creative artist, and that's something we're going to talk about a little bit today. But more importantly, she's a beautiful Christian with a heart for God. And I love her tagline. This is her tagline off her thing, that off her webpage, that she helps you share your story in creative ways by publishing books, creating art, and letting your light shine for Jesus.
Okay.
So, and that way, everything that she does is touched with prayer. And I think that's important for us to remember as creative artists and as writers to do that. She's she is a writer and publisher of more than 40 books. You guys, listen to that, 40 books. Isn't that amazing? So her work of art, her body of work is just amazing on that. And that's very inspirational on that. And she's also the owner and founder of the Author Audience Academy. And I'll do a personal testimony here really quick, that this is it's a membership site that has just literally changed my writing career on that. And it's a wonderful amount of resources there and teaching. And so I encourage you to get to know Author Audience Academy and go to ShelleyHitz.com. I just was playing with it a little bit this morning and hit the writing module, and she's got a ton of free stuff there. So go there and get to know Shelley better. So she does a podcast. For those of you that like listening to podcasts, one busy lady, wouldn't you say, on that? So, but anyway, so welcome, Shelley. I'm so glad you're with us today from Colorado, if I remember right?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, I'm in Colorado Springs, so thank you for having me. Yes,
I'm glad you're with us today and all that. And anyway, I'm just going to look at my notes real quick here. We want to talk a little bit about some of your writing and some of the stuff to do, but we do want to talk about Skillshare too today. So why don't you start a little bit and share? Did I miss anything? Tell me a little bit about yourself and your writing career and how you got, and a little bit about what got you in founding the Author Audience Academy, and then we'll switch to Skillshare.
Yeah, so I always say it was the twists and turns of life. Obviously, God, who brought me into this path. I was a physical therapist for 12 years and then quit my job in 2011 to be in ministry and business full-time with my husband. We thought we were going to be traveling around the country in an RV speaking. We were speakers more than authors at that time. And it was a time where all of our speaking engagements dried up. And in 2012, we published over 23 books, started earning thousands of dollars in royalties. It's literally what paid the bills, paid for groceries, put gas in the RV. And it was like, okay, Lord, what's going to happen next because I quit my job, So through that, it was just a very hard time. But when I look back, I see God's fingerprints all over it. So sometimes when you're going through a really tough time and things are not turning out like you want them to, or you think they're supposed to, God may be working behind the scenes doing something that you completely didn't even know was possible. And so it was really in 2013 that I started focusing on coaching authors, and I launched Author Audience Academy in 2015.
15. So it's about right, because I think I was one of your early joiners.
Yes, yeah, so about
on that, because I thought
years.
I joined in 2015, so I was probably maybe not the first wave, but the second or third wave on that. I love your testimony on that, because that we were talking just before several of you came on here about how with Cheryl Lynn, we were talking about how God has plans for us that's always more than what we think we have, and to be able to listen to him and follow his will is really, really important on that way. Well, tell us a little bit. We got curious. We titled this Skillshare 101. Tell us a little bit about Skillshare, how you discovered it, and what it even is, because I bet we have some people listening today that may not even know what it is.
I didn't know what it was.
Okay, so Johnny, you can ask all the questions. Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
tell us a little bit about Skillshare.
Skillshare is an online learning platform, kind of like Netflix for learning. So you pay one fee, you get access to, I think currently it's over 17,000 classes. Wow. And they have everything from art to creative to business. And it's really for learners like me. I am a diehard learner. I'm always learning. I'm always diving into things. It was like a dream come true. It was like, whoa, this is awesome. But I found Skillshare when I first started getting into art in 2016. I was looking for ways to add coloring pages to my book, Broken Crayons Still Color. And I distinctly heard the Lord say, not in an audible voice, but in my spirit, you do it. And I was like, me? I'm not an artist. I can't do this. How am I going to do this? I started searching for courses. There really wasn't very many out at that time on how to create your own coloring pages. And yeah, a lot of people were doing it. And so it was a really big trend at the time. And so there was one day I was just like, okay, I just got to sit down and do it. And out came my first coloring page. And I ended up creating all of the ones that are in my book. Now that I look back, I'm like, I would do them different now because, I'm a different artist now than I was then. But that's part of the beauty of that book and the message, Broken Crayons Still Color. And so my, brokenness and just trying to do what God was showing me to do at the time, is in that book. And it's really part of my story in art. And so I got into art and I started, because of the coloring pages, I got fascinated with lettering because you add lettering and things with the coloring pages. And I started following people on Instagram and realized some of them were teaching classes on Skillshare. So I got onto Skillshare and I got hooked. I got addicted to taking the classes. And they ran a special December of 2016. If you published one class, you got a 1-year free membership. And for me, I was like, oh yeah, that was like $100 value. And I was like, yeah, I've been doing online classes for years and years. I have all the equipment. I can teach how to create coloring pages because I just did that. And my audience of authors would be interested in that. So I did a series. It was 3 classes of how to create your own hand-drawn coloring pages, how to digitize them, and then even how to sell them on print-on-demand companies like with mugs and everything like that, because I did that for my book. So I did a series in December, got the free membership, and that first month, I earned $500.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's even more than I sometimes make on a book launch. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I can actually make money doing this.
I love that.
How many classes have you got now, for example, from then to now?
I've published 23 classes, and I started in not quite a year ago in December. And I'm a prolific creator. Obviously, I have over 40 books. Like, that's the way God created me to be. And I can just and I'm a teacher. Like, anything I learn, I want to teach it. So it's actually been a really fun outlet for me because I have been diving in to learning all things lettering and art. And then I turn around and I'm able to teach others with the gifts God has given me. And it's been really a confirmation of the teaching gift because, just hearing people's responses, and they went over really well. And it's just been a really interesting thing that I didn't even plan on, like, teaching ongoing. I just wanted the free membership.
That is great. And what's it done for your creativity, your creative side?
Yeah, so I really believe that, back in June of 2016, when I was first getting into this for my book, I really would have said I was not creative, that I didn't have an artistic bone in my body. I went to medical school. I studied gross anatomy, physics, calculus, like left brain.
Left brain.
Yeah.
But what God is showing me is that sometimes the enemy plants these lies, like I'm not creative, I'm not artistic.
Yeah.
And we all have ways that we can be creative, whether it's cooking or, if it's lettering or painting or something, writing, we're creative in that way. And so as I started to explore that, I wouldn't say I just have this natural gift that I was instantly good at it. But with practice and with time, I have built skills that have really helped that right brain to develop. And I actually feel, and I've been talking about this, I actually feel like my right and left brains are communicating again. It's like there was a divide, and finally it's like there's this communication highway between my left and right brain. And I just feel like it's an explosion of creativity. And actually one of our pastors was praying over my husband and I. We're in a transition again, and some stuff that not really, able to talk about right now, but he was like, Shelley, and he was praying for me. He's like, Shelley, I see you as an explosion of creative energy. And I'm like, yeah. And I would have never said that just a little over a year ago. And it's just been amazing, like for not only for my business, but for just everything that I'm doing, just adding that creativity into my life.
Wow. They've done some research about the medical profession and the right brain, left brain, and how many, like, say, physicians also excel in music. And they live healthier when they do both. And I'm thinking about, I was with your launch team for your book, Broken Crayon Still Color, which is a wonderful, wonderful book. And it's a great illustration for this whole conversation today, in that you were really drained after you put yourself into that book. You just were drained. And as a writer, this has almost been refilling the well for you, hasn't it, in a lot of ways?
Yeah, it's really become a source of self-care. So I say I'm a redeemed workaholic, and you can tell just by like my all the action I've taken. It's I can get a lot done, but the Lord did something very powerfully in my life this summer, really healing me in that area. And I think part of that healing actually was that He gave me the gift of art. And He gave me that gift of self-care that I hadn't, I didn't really practice self-care before. I was just so driven and productive. But what I'm finding is that when we take time away to put into our creative well, whether it's art or something else, whatever is nurturing to you. And I found so many other things that are nurturing to me. And I've been learning to nurture myself and to actually rest. Like I'm actually taking Sabbaths. I've been a Christian for 25 years, and I don't think I really truly actually took a Sabbath rest until this summer. And it's been life-changing for me to truly, I would have said I took a Sabbath before, but I really didn't. I was still connected to social media. I was still connected and checking my email. I was still doing work stuff. And so God is just it's just been a season of intense, growth, but joy. And it's just been amazing.
That's very encouraging, I think, for all of us to hear and stuff. Johnny, what is your basic question about Skillshare? Would you want to ask?
I'd like to know what are the more popular topics that seem to show up and people are interested in, and also you said you had all the equipment. What kind of equipment do you use to get a class on? If people here are interested in putting a class on Skillshare, what they might need to do that.
Yeah, so I think Skillshare really launched and really in the beginning was very, very strong in all of the arts and creative stuff. So even photography, watercolor, lettering, and so because I've been teaching in that route, that is one of the more popular subjects on Skillshare. They are now launching, and they've had for a while now, a business section where you can do productivity. You can write about writing. You can do a class on writing, all of that sort of thing. I've done a few marketing classes, and those went over well. And so there's a lot of different classes, but I would probably say still their most popular are probably still the creative stuff.
Okay.
And so they're very hands-on, like you say, here's how you do this step by step, and someone can just follow those same steps,
so
product. Yeah.
That's a good point. What Skillshare really tries to do is create classes that are short and shorter and digestible, and then you can actually, every class has a project. So they want you to actually do something as part of the class, not just take in more information, but actually do a small project. And for instance, in a painting class, it's going to be a small painting. In a lettering class, it will be something about lettering, a lettering layout, or one of them, I just have them letter their name, and so every class has a project, and so you come away from it with something. And not only have you learned a skill, but you've done something. And so people post their projects, and it's really inspiring to see what people create. But for equipment, it's what you really need for any type of online class. So I actually, for these classes though, I record mostly overhead. So I have my phone on a tripod that's like over top of my workspace. And I actually teach how I do this in one of my Skillshare classes. It's perfect. It's on Instagram marketing. And so I share all the little tools I have and stuff, but I have a little tripod, and then it holds my phone right above my workspace. And then I use the Boya mic that it's like $15 on Amazon, and you just plug it right into your phone, your smartphone. I just clip that mic on. I have my smartphone. I have an iPhone 7 is what I use. And then I just create my classes. And I have a little bit of lighting. So I have a couple lamps, and they have daylight bulbs in them. So the daylight bulbs are brighter, and they give you more light. And I do have a Diva ring light. I'm using it right now. Like if I turn it off, you can see the difference. So I usually do an introduction video and a conclusion video where I'm talking on the camera.
So your head shows you actually are on.
Yeah, and you can use something like Zoom to record that. Just get on here by yourself. And use it to record that talking head video. And then I do use Camtasia to edit my videos, because that's just what I've used for years and years and years, and I'm just used to it. But you can also use free video editing software. A lot of times, like when I'm just editing videos for Instagram, I'll just use the iMovie on my phone. So just some sort of editing software. And one little tip is, when I record a video, I don't just keep starting over if I mess up. I actually just stop. I pause. I let it keep recording. I gather my thoughts. I keep going. And then I just edit out those pauses and those mistakes. And that really helps me stay in the flow of recording instead of getting flustered, frustrated, and feeling like I'm saying the same thing a million times. And so that's a little tip that has helped me. Everyone is different in their creation process, just like in writing. Everyone writes differently and creates differently. And so everyone does a little bit differently with the videos. But I don't have a script for my projects. I'm a speaker, so it kind of comes a little more naturally for me, but I have an outline. So I have a pretty detailed outline, just like a book. You would outline a book, and I then break it down into shorter bite-sized type videos, and I just record naturally from there, just showing them what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And it's just worked really well for me. I've created a system that obviously is repeatable.
Yeah.
That's really great. Yeah.
You mentioned that Skillshare likes them short. Is there a recommended length of time for the total thing and a recommended time for each? You have multiple videos within a class, right?
Yeah, so I probably am a little bit longer than some of the classes. Some of my classes are an hour or so, but I've seen, it's like, I think the shortest you can create a class is 10 minutes. But I think the sweet spot is probably around 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, keeping the individual videos maybe 5 to 7 minutes. But again, I sometimes go over that. And so far, my students appreciate it because they appreciate the comprehensiveness and all of that. But that's one of the things that, you don't have to create a long class. You can actually just do 10 to 20 minutes. And the thing about it is Skillshare hosts it for you. They take the money for you. They handle all the tech stuff behind the scenes. All you have to do is upload your class. And so you don't have to develop an entire platform. You don't have to figure out what member area to use, what payment processor to use. You don't have to be handling support requests. And so it's really a simple way to get started in having some sort of online course or online class without really having all the other extra stuff that typically goes with it.
Yeah.
Shelley, what was the name of the microphone again that you said was pretty inexpensive?
It's the Boya mic. It's BOYA. And that's one that's for your smartphone. So it's not compatible, I don't think, with a lot of the video cameras, but it works well with the smartphone. And then on my computer, I do have my Blue Yeti mic, and that's what I'm using right now. So
okay. Blue Yeti?
Yeah, Blue Yeti, YETI. But I found the built-in microphone with my Mac is pretty good. So even if you have that tends to work fairly well.
When you have your smartphone on the tripod, then you're actually recording on your smartphone.
Yeah.
Isn't that awkward? How do you push the buttons?
Yeah, it is, I put the phone in the tripod, and then I stand up and I look over at the area to make sure it's all, it's like getting the area that I want. And then I just press the video button. So
actually it's face up. I mean, like the screen, you can see this part up.
Yeah. So I'm using the main camera. Yep. It's face up. And then it's just recording here. So I can't see myself from here, but when I stand up, I can see what's being recorded, and I can make sure everything looks right. And then I just know where to stay, like which area to stay when I'm recording. And I'll just press record, and that's
And actually, what they're watching, because you've done the lettering, they're watching your hands do the lettering.
Yes.
You're demonstrating what's on that. Oh, that's interesting. What's the background? What do you have at all?
Yeah, so I have a a background for what my little art studio area. One of them is just like a white board, and the other one looks more like a little bit of a wooden kind of board. But you could just have your table, your desk. Sometimes I'll even put those papers for scrapbooking or whatever, or just those big poster boards. Sometimes I'll even put that as a background. But I typically just use my desk, and I've just really kept it simple. I haven't worried about too much because it's Skillshare. They're getting 17,000 classes, all, for one fee.
That's a lot.
And, I haven't, it's like, I was just saying this the other day, done is better than perfect. And if I would have waited until I had the perfect video software and the perfect video camera and the perfect setting and the perfect lighting, I probably would have never created a class. And yet people just have really loved the classes. They're enjoying it. They're learning. They're growing as an artist or in the self-care of art. And it's just been a really, really fun way to be able to teach, but also be able to just as an author coach, I talk about creativity. And so it's all actually kind of connected, but it's just been a really interesting way to use my gifts in a different setting.
Yes.
Do you find you have a lot of repeat people coming to different classes? Like they find you and then they want to take all your classes?
Yeah. So it's similar to you as an author. You probably have people that find your books, Johnny, and then I like her style, I like her writing, and then they watch, or they read all the books in your series. Well, I kind of have now a series, so it's like a series of lettering classes. And so somebody finds one of the lettering classes, at the end I'll say, hey, if you enjoyed this class, I have other lettering classes you might enjoy as well, and I have this and this and this. And so what you find is that you do have just like authors and just like books, you have your loyal followers that then will watch everything that you create. And you'll have some that come and go, which is fine.
Sure, of course.
But Skillshare will show you how many people are actually following you. And it used to be that it would be automatic. Now people have to choose like if they're going to follow you or not, which that happened right around when I was starting. So everyone has pretty much, I think, chosen if they're going to follow me. And if they follow me, then they get notified of when I create new classes. They get an email. And so I have, I think, I didn't check, but I think about 1,600 followers on Skillshare that will get the notification. Then I can also, through Skillshare, send them emails, updated emails for when I have, promotions or giveaways or, new classes and stuff like that.
Well, I went to the site and I noticed there's a place almost like social media looks like. There's a place for comments below so the students can comment. Is that where like they report or share their project?
Yeah, so right now on a computer, you see the project area. On a smartphone, because they have apps for your iPad and your iPhone or your smartphones. Let me open a class, and there's a tab that says your project. And so basically, there's a tab right now that says about, there's a tab that says community, and there's a tab that says your project, and then a tab that says all projects. So your project, if you click that, is often where I will upload PDF downloads for people to download, and they'll be on the right-hand side of that tab. And I've provided lettering practice sheets and lots of different, resources in some of my classes. And then the community is where people can ask questions. So it is an interactive thing. I find that I'm not really spending a ton of time answering and replying to comments, but it is great when you get the comments and the discussion. And so that, that is one thing, if you teach there, to try to interact with anyone who does leave a discussion. And then there's a place for people to leave reviews. So just like on Amazon, they can leave reviews for you. They can give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And then they can give you a description of what they liked about the class. And that's, just like writing a book. It's so rewarding to get those reviews. And, I have had a few bad ones, haven't we all? Like even on our books, I think, any creator, no matter what you're creating, you're going to get some of those bad reviews, but for the most part, they've been really encouraging and they've really spurred me on to keep creating classes.
Wow. It's also a passive form of income for a writer or a creative person, isn't it? I mean, you continue to get income from it. And it's
so in September, I didn't create a new class. So I try to create a new class once a month. And that's a way to really just keep keep it going, because you get paid per minutes watched. So however many minutes people watch your class, it's kind of like KDP Select, where you get paid for pages read. It's kind of similar to that model. And then you get paid $10 for every new person that joins through your link. So so you get paid for minutes watched. And so creating new classes on a consistent basis will keep your income more stable. But for instance, I didn't create any classes in September. I hosted my in-person writing retreat. I was a keynote speaker at a Christian conference in Canada. I did a one-day VIP day. I mean, I had tons and tons of stuff going on in September. I just didn't have time. And my income was about the same as it has been. I've been earning around about $1,000 a month. And it was about the same, even without creating new classes, because I had so many classes still out there. But yeah, I mean, I think, I'm still learning. It's, I haven't been a year, and you know how it is just learning Kindle and Amazon and how everything works. But it's definitely one of those things that, as you create classes, you also see what is most popular and what people are really wanting.
What they want.
And then you can create more of that. And I realized right now it's the lettering that people are really interested in from me. But yeah, so it's all an experiment, right?
Right. It is.
I love it.
I love it too. And like I said, it's a new aspect, both to express our creativity and learn some income as writers. Something that you did, if you'd share a little bit with our audience, your last book was Broken Crayons, Still Color, and you did an amazing extra things like the coloring sheets, for example, with it. And you did some extras with that book. And I really thought you thought outside of the box in launching that. Could you share some of the things that you did in addition just to writing the book?
Well, that book, I really wanted it to be kind of like my showcase book, so to speak, and it's not long, but every single chapter has a video that goes with it. So a lot of the content of the book is actually in the videos. And so there's a video for every week, and it can be done as a group study or individual, but I also created fill in the blank viewers guides, which those are not as easy as they sound. You have to, so I created that as an interactive thing in the book. And then I also created the coloring pages for every chapter. Also had reflection questions that they could be kind of praying through as they're coloring and as they're, they're getting that creativity side of it. And there's a discussion guide, a leader's guide in the back. There's prayer, memory, or prayer card download. So I had a graphic designer design some different prayer cards, and there was a different memory verse for each chapter. So I did that. But then for the launch, I had some different gifts, people could get, and also some different products that I created that are continuing to sell today. And one of them that's really popular, I should have brought it in. I didn't realize I was going to talk about it. But
no, I thought about, I have one, and I thought it's out in the kitchen, the one I have.
So I created a mug, and it has the very first design I created for my coloring book, which says broken crayons still color. And so I put that design on a mug, and I have actually a mug that is color changing. So it's a magic mug. So you can put the coffee or the tea in there, and it will reveal my design. And so I love that. I've been using a magic mug as an illustration of my speaking for years and years, probably since 2007. So to find a print-on-demand company that would ship those out for me, I'm not I don't have them in my house. It's all happens auto-magically, I like to say. And you can use a company like Gear Bubble, that's who I used, or Redbubble. There's so many different companies you can do. And so what I do is when somebody signs up for my email list to get all the freebies, to get access to the videos, to download everything, and they also can download the coloring pages. Then on the thank you page, I give them a coupon for the mug. And they can buy the mug right there after they sign up for 50% off. And I'm selling those on a very regular basis. Almost every week, I'm selling more mugs. And I also had necklaces designed. So I had a jeweler actually create one that looked like a broken crayon. And then there was another one that was a circle, and had necklaces created. I had bracelets created. There was a jeweler that I got in contact with here in Colorado Springs, and she made those, those ones that you can stamp the message. It's like their little metal bracelets. I had some of those bracelets made, and I don't know, just a lot of different, t-shirts. So I had t-shirts with the broken crayon still color design. And it was just a really interesting project, and so many different things that came out of it. And like I said, things that are still selling and earning me income today.
Yeah, I think it was just amazing, that as an example of your creativity about really all the things from the t-shirts to the necklace to the mug. I should have brought my mug today.
And you know what, and it goes back to the email list. I mean, because we talk about the importance of that, and I'm struggling, to build up that email list, and I think I talk about email lists all the time. But I mean, how long have you been working on your email list? So a while.
Like which one? Like my
you have more than one, then you have a segmented email list. But
so for years and years. I first started marketing online and doing websites in 2004. And I remember I was very hesitant to sign up for that monthly fee. I don't think MailChimp was available back then for the free version. Now you really have no excuse. MailChimp is free for up to 1,000. They offer automation now in their free account. I used to not recommend them because they didn't have the automation, because I'm always like, authors, automate the things you can. There's authors that'll be sitting behind their desk sending out their thank you emails for their email list. I'm like, no, using autoresponder. But anyways, they didn't have anything like that. It was several years, and I can't remember if it was like 2007 or six or seven, but I finally started my first email list, and I have not looked back since. That is probably my number one priority in marketing, is to grow my email list. And recently I had a promotion that I am speaking at an event, and they're not able to pay me as much. So sometimes you can do value exchanges. And they were going to record the video professionally and give me that professional video, but they weren't able to do that. So they said, well, how about if we send out an email instead about you? So what I did is I thought, okay, how can I use that to build my email list instead of just sending them to my book page or something like that? And I created a freebie, a free offer. And I have had like almost 2,500 people sign up to my list. And it was such a blessing, something I wasn't expecting. But I'm always thinking of, how can I grow my email list? A lot of times it's slow. It's one person by one person by one person. But then sometimes you get opportunities. And I have an Author Audience Academy member, Janie, you might have seen. She was guest posting on ibelieve.com.
Yeah.
And she's like, Shelley, should I just link to my perma-free book? I said, no. Set up a landing page and have them sign up to your email list first, then give them the link to where they can download your book for free on Amazon. Always, I do that for free Facebook groups. I have them sign up to my email list first, then send them the link to the free Facebook group. So I'm always thinking, and she said she got from that one post, I think it was like 100 and something, almost 200, 150 like new subscribers. And those could have all been lost if she would have just sent them directly to Amazon.
Yeah. So that's a great point. And I was going to ask you, and you just gave us a great tip, but as a writer coach, we're all writers here. What's the tip that you think, writers, wake up, you need to do this? What's a good tip that you could share with writers here today?
I think, part of it is the automation. I was just speaking at a Christian conference, and when I was talking about automation and setting up your autoresponders and stuff, I said, it's kind of like having a virtual assistant working for you 24/7, and you're not having to actually pay anyone extra. You already have your email subscriber list. Why are you, how many of you are using it? And very few in the room. Maybe their first email that was, was automatic. But very few had an autoresponder series set up of evergreen messages, which they're not going to be date sensitive or promotion sensitive. So having some sort of automation set up to where you're connecting and it's your personality, you're telling stories, you're connecting with them, but it's all happening behind the scenes. If you ever get sick, if you ever, if your family has a crisis, your business will continue to run even without you. And so, that is a really big thing, but also just thinking outside books as far as products. So thinking about more than just creating books. So what I find is a lot of writers, once they start writing books, they just want to write more and more and more and more books, which is great. But, if you think about a Kindle book, it's $2.99 many times, or $4.99, $9.99. If it's $2.99, you're going to make $2 on that around. Whereas if you have your own small digital product, you could be making more than that. Let's say you even just sell it for $10, that would be $10 per sale. And so I think sometimes authors get stuck. They think it's harder than it has to be. Even if you offer a mug or something that goes along with your book, it's just something of value that helps them to retain the message, that helps them remember you. And I just think that a lot of authors really get their blinders on and think that they're not internet marketers, and so they don't want to create these products and these other things. And there's so many easy ways to do it now, and it can really help you diversify your income, but also reach more people and in a deeper way with your message.
I think
so it's just, those are a couple little things.
That's great. Bethany, didn't you say last week or the week before, what was the percentage that writers need to spend so much time creating content and so much time marketing? Do you remember what?
Well, I've heard different people say different things. Like some people say half and half. I think Kyle was on here and he was saying you need to do a 60 marketing, 40 writing, and which nobody wants to hear.
I know.
That is great. Questions on creativity. What's surprised you the most about kind of discovering this new creativity in your life?
I just think how much it's like, I feel like it's made me come alive. And I mean, I'm a very animated person, and sometimes people think it's fake, but it's like, no, it's just my personality. But I have a lot of energy. But in the last year and a half, I feel like, and the word that God keeps giving to me is bloom. Like I've bloomed in a way that I never did before. And it's just brought me to life. And I've been reading a book. It's an advanced review copy. So the book's not out yet. It's called Called to Create.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for creatives and entrepreneurs. And I love the book. It's so encouraging. I really recommend it. But, he talks in there a lot about how we're all called to create, and God is our creator. He was the ultimate creative. Mm-hmm. And when we create, we are being in his image, which we were created in his image. But I don't know, there's just been a part of me, and it's actually connected me with the Lord even deeper, I think. Just allowing myself to explore it and allowing myself to be a beginner. So that's the thing I find a lot of adults struggle with in anything. You may feel like that with marketing, like allowing yourself to be a beginner, allowing yourself to make mistakes, allowing yourself to, make bad art sometimes, and I have to continually be working through the mindset blocks. I mean, that's the thing I found most writers have as obstacles is the mindset stuff, which is true for any, I think, creative, because it's such personal work, whether you're creating art or it's a writing, it's so personal. And sometimes it's really hard to put ourselves out there. That fear of failure, we get overwhelmed and paralyzed. There's perfectionism. There's so many things that hold us back. And I think the same can be true sometimes for creativity. And so just giving myself, and the Lord gave me that gift early on. I don't know, I think it was a few of the Skillshare classes I took, the teachers really emphasized different things. And so that's where I developed some mantras. Art is unique, not perfect. And I developed some mantras, and they're actually in one of my classes called Embrace the Artist in You. And I developed that class because people were asking me, well, what do you do if you want to create, but you're stuck? And so I think a lot of the things that I've learned in coaching with authors, it's very similar with going through the creative process.
Oh, that is great. That's inspirational.
It is.
Yeah. Tina had a question in the chat room. She said, when you do a giveaway, say for a launch, do you note how much the product sells for at your site? Probably like what's the price and what's the benefit?
Yeah, so a lot of times, anytime I give away a bonus, I'll a lot of times put in parentheses, how much value, like $47 value or whatever. And so it's really good to let them know, like this is the real world value of this that I'm giving away. And so I recommend that.
Yeah. And back to your question, thing about art and being vulnerable in our art, I think that's the word I've learned to kind of embrace more, that it's okay to be vulnerable. That's the growth part, to step out. And the mindset is just so true. The mindset, the voices that we listen to tell us that we're not good enough, or you'll never draw. I can remember my report card from kindergarten. I've shared this on some people before. That it said, Jean Ann cannot use scissors properly. She can't cut. And so to this day, I don't think I have fine motor skills. By you not seeing yourself as an artist and learning that, because I agree, it's a learned skill. But I listened to that voice from kindergarten.
Yes. And it's interesting because I'm getting ready to launch a workshop and eventually a book called The Art of Prayer. And God is really taking, my ministry and prayer and then the art and bringing those two things together too. But I recently did that workshop in Canada with authors and writers. And it was so interesting because I talked about creative injuries. And that's one of the things that the Lord has brought me through. Like, what are the creative injuries that I've had in the past? And how can I heal from those? For me, most of my creative injuries were in music, and my family is very musical. Like one of my cousins works for Chris Tomlin. Like I have several cousins, they've published or created their own CDs. Like my dad was a professional trombonist. My mom is a music therapist, music teacher, music pastor. Like, you know, the music runs in my family. And so I didn't have a ton of creative injuries when it came to art. So I think I just jumped in, and people were like, how are you selling your stuff on Etsy already? When I launched my Etsy store, I was like, I don't know, I'm just doing it, you know?
But you're saying the creative injuries is like what blocks us from thinking.
Yes. Yeah. So what I've noticed is, so when I was at that workshop, I asked people, and somebody said when they were in school, you know, they got reprimanded for their writing, and they had to write, their punishment was to write on the board, you know, this sentence over and over and over and over and over. And so for them, lettering and writing is a derogatory, like it brings back those negative things because they were not good at that. You know, and then, you know, people, you know, the teachers would, you know, slap their hands, you know, for different things, or just different kinds of creative injuries along the way. And just, we talked about those and how important it is to recognize it and to heal from it, to bring it to God and say, okay, this is part of my past, but I really want to be unblocked. I'm going to have all of the creative flow you have for me. And so, you know, with the music, I think it was this summer, I just went through and I wrote down every single thing. You know, I had a mean piano teacher, and then I quit piano, and I never took it back up again. To this day, I regret it. You know, I was first chair in flute in 9th grade, and I was being bullied for being in the band, and I was called a band fag, and I quit band, and I always regret. I'm thinking, what could have happened, you know, if I would have continued that course? There were several other different things, and I won't go into it now, but I actually took my journal out. I prayed through it. I forgave those people. I forgave myself, like tears, like literal, like tears, grieving the lost years. And I actually got my guitar back out. Like I'm actually like doing things again. And so if you feel blocked in writing or in any sort of creative endeavor, just pray and ask the Lord, is there something there? Is there a wound from the past? Or is there something that has been a creative injury that you want to heal?
Wow, that is just great. That's real inspiration about on that. What did you, Bethany, why don't you say that out loud about the verse?
It just reminded me about that verse in Isaiah where God says that he redeems the years the locusts have eaten. That was a big theme in Lacey's book that she just went back to over and over. So it just reminded me of that.
It does. So it's great. And like you said, especially even as writers, we need that reminder all the time and stuff. It's getting about time that we can invite everybody on, but I didn't know if Johnny or Bethany, you had any questions before we invite everybody back on?
Not a question, just an observation, I guess. I mean, I just love Shelley's energy. I'm not that energetic of a person. But I love that. But I think there's a real lesson in that, to just embracing Etsy before you're ready, embracing Skillshare, is that what it was called? You know, and just going ahead and doing it. And I was thinking back, I think I knew Shelley before this, but with Periscope, you know, when Periscope suddenly became a big thing, and that's where you were, and I would listen to your Periscopes as I fed my alpaca herd. This is when I lived on the farm and would be walking the pasture to get my Fitbit stats. You know, yours was one of the Periscope things I would always listen to about the time you were doing the author audience. So, you know, I think sometimes it's just not being afraid to embrace new, or not necessarily new, but embracing what is out there. Do you Periscope still, or has that sort of faded away?
I've really just focused more on Facebook Live now.
Yeah.
And I don't publish or, you know, broadcast on Periscope anymore, but Periscope was a gift. I came across it, and I did like 100 days in a row on Periscope at one point. It's where I met Jeannie. It's
that is where we connected.
Yeah. Jeannie may have been the one that told me about you.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not sure how you and I first connected.
Yeah. So, but it was a gift, and what it really did, and I always say, anyone who's afraid of speaking on video, do a daily challenge. Even if you don't publish it, just stand in front of your phone, talk for a minute. You can delete it from your phone. You don't have to publish it to anywhere, but doing something consistently over time, you get better and better at it. So what Periscope did for me is it got me really good at impromptu live video and training, and I'm still doing that today. So I'll do Facebook Lives, and then those will be edited for my podcast and YouTube channel and blog and all of that. So it was really a gift.
It really was.
Yeah.
And
so
that way.
these opportunities pop up, and we need to be willing to take a deep breath and do it. Just do it.
I think that's been a strength here in this Writers Chat community too, because we've had, just like Jill came on and talked to us about Instagram a couple weeks ago, and it just started. I know a bunch of the people in our community jumped on Instagram or took it to a new level just because of that one show. And now I think we'll probably have people hop over on Skillshare and to explore that. And it reminds me so much of Johnny of 2008, the second time we were together at Florida Christian Writers Conference. When did we first meet? 2007?
7, yeah.
So it would have been in that community room in 2008, and your group said, Jeannie, you got to start blogging. And I said, no. I want to blog, and there's no way I could take on something else at this time in my life, and I'm still blogging today.
There were 5 of us, and we said, we've all got to blog, and Jeannie was so resistant, and she is the one that has been the most consistent.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been a wonderful gift. It has been a wonderful gift, and it was Bethany's invitation. Let's get on, what were we on originally? Blab?
Yeah, Blab.
And let's do this weekly show. And I thought, I don't have time for this. And look, we're still doing it today as something else.
We love Writers Chat. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I recently shared in my Author Readiness Academy group, and I won't share the whole training, was how to prioritize. And at the end, I said, most of the time I take action without having everything figured out, because if I wait until I have everything figured out, until I have everything and in this nice little tidy box, it's like I probably will never do it. And what I find, a lot of writers want to wait until they have everything figured out. How's this going to work? And it reminds me of the story in the Old Testament where the Israelites, the priests put their feet in the Jordan River at flood stage, and not knowing, and then the Lord opened it. And I find many times, you have to really ask the Lord, is this something I'm to do? Because there can be the bright, shiny objects. So be careful of just doing too many things. But when God is leading you to do something, you feel that fear that, a lot of times that fear is a sign that that's what we should be doing probably. And really just taking an action before having it all figured out. Start researching, start doing things. And, you will be able to figure it out as you go, learn it as you go. And, it's part of the process. They say action cures fear. And even if it's just a small, 15-minute action, what can you do to begin towards that goal? And so, that's one of my mantras.
This has been great today. Bethany, any last minute question?
Not question. I do want to go on the record though for the replay that it is not Isaiah. It is Joel 2:25, the verse about the locust.
There you go. Joel.
So for those people who are correcting me,
the internal editor,
it is Joel.
I wrote that down.
Chat.
I wrote that down. That sounds like a good verse to put on our desk this week. Well, we'll invite anybody to want to hop on in, to unmute yourself or take yourself back and hop in here. We got about 5 minutes left. If you want to come in and talk to Shelley or have last minute questions or something new that you might want to share with us. And then what we usually do, Shelley, is that we wrap up right at about 5 minutes, and then we stay on just for a few minutes extra, and because sometimes people don't like to ask things while we're being recorded, and we share things that way. Here comes Tina, and we got Sophia. I don't know who all else we got with us. What is it, Jeremy with us? He might want to pop on. I don't know who else. We got anybody else who wants to hop on. And any last minute questions before we wrap up today officially that you might have? Do you want to ask Shelley? She's a writer's coach. She's a wealth of information. Thing that you might want to ask. Sophia or Tina, anybody there, or somebody in the, Jeremy's on the computer without a mic or a camera. You can write if you have a question there, if you want to add.
This was so good. I really appreciate you doing this. I wanted to ask about the products. So you have a line of products do you list them all on your website, and do you make them, people in your audience, aware of it when you're doing your trainings? I mean, do you kind of refer to that and say, here, get on my email list for a chance to win this? You could also buy it if you don't win. That's kind of the question I was trying to ask. How do you draw attention to the product line that you have that's your extra source of income?
Yeah, so like I said, for my book, it's on the thank you page immediately where they can buy the mug. And then I have an autoresponder, a message that automatically goes out that says, these would make great gifts. And it tells them about all the different, like the t-shirts and the jewelry and everything. And then you can check it out at brokencrayonsbook.com/store. And that link will send you to kind of the landing page. And then what I do is I just link to the different places like Gear Bubble. The jeweler who made the necklaces, she actually hosts the item on Etsy for me, and then she'll just send me a percentage. We worked out an agreement with that. And so I just link to all of those things from the store page. But yeah, I definitely make sure through emails and through follow-up and at least through an autoresponder to let them know that all of those things are there for them. And in different ways. And like, it's fun. You can have promotions, you can have giveaways. Now that I have all of these things created, I can do a lot of different, there's so many options that are available anytime I want to do a special promotion.
It's interesting. Thank you.
That is. And were you on Etsy before, or has that been new since you've gotten this creativity stuff?
No, that was just after I started teaching on Skillshare. And for those products, what I typically do on Skillshare, you have, I'll typically create a class resources list. So it's like the different supplies. And then at the end, I have my marketing thing, connect with Shelley, or next steps, get these lettering practice sheets on Etsy, follow me online here, get my free training here, and that's my email list. And so I try to have that on every class resources list. And it's changed over time. So at some point I want to go back and update all my class resources by 23. So but that's a great place to do it if you're doing a class like that. And then with Skillshare, I can also send an email to those that follow me on Skillshare. And so I will send them things to invite them to my email list or to promotions I'm having, giveaways I'm doing, things like that. So that's kind of how I let them know too.
Wow, it's wonderful. Jan, Sophia, any questions before we sign off?
I would just like to thank Shelley for all the information. You're encouraging me to try some new things now. So.
Yay! You can do it.
Yeah.
Let us know in the Writers Chat Facebook group anything that you take away from this and that you do, or I'm going to do. Make sure you put that down in our Facebook group so we can cheer you on and hold you accountable.
Sophia, did you have a question?
Yes. What Shelley said about wanting to do things perfectly before starting is a challenge for me. I've just started everything. I went to the Blue Ridge Mountain Conference last May, and I just hit the ground running. And my challenge is that I have a lot of resources in my family, and I'm trying to figure out how to swing it all, because I'm trying to finish my first draft, almost done with that. I had an old blog that's defunct that I just pulled everything. It's archived, and I want to re-release it, but I want to re-release it in more of a podcast format rather than just a print format. But I'm trying to get my family to, like, my husband is an audio engineer and he does internet resources, which is awesome, but that's his business. So the shoemaker's kids have no shoes. So how do you start? I mean, I know that platforming is important, but I also know that finishing is important. And I'm trying to balance all these new learning curves, I guess is what it is.
Yeah, so I have, I did not create it. It's an acronym that I live by. It's called FOCUS. Follow one course until successful. Yeah. And what I find is that, I'm a typical creative and entrepreneur. It was 2013. I hired my first business coach. She had me write out everything I was doing. I was legitimately doing 7 different entities, 7 different business entities. And she's like, Shelley, you're doing too much. And it's like the book, The One Thing. There's a circle and there's like a bunch of different lines going a little bit, or there's one circle with one line going really far. And I personally, the Lord showed me, Shelley, I want you to really, focus on one thing until it's successful. So my publishing, I started with that. And then I added author coaching. And now I have a team. Jeannie's part of that team. And now I'm adding the art. And so it's not like I'm just doing all those things at the same time. I have a specific focus for a specific season. But you can do a couple things at the same time. It's not like you can't. But what I find is that when writers try to do too much, then it shuts them down. Mm-hmm. And then they don't finish anything. So I would love to see you be a finisher and finish your first book and get that done. And,
I don't have to feel guilty about focusing only on that until.
No. Yeah. And pray about it. The Lord will give you direction. Like even yesterday, I was feeling overwhelmed. I went away to these little prayer grottos, they're little rooms you can pray. And I was like, Lord, what do I do? And I wrote everything out that I was doing. I call it a brain dump. And I was writing everything out. And I was like, okay, Lord, am I supposed to be doing all of this week? He was like, nope, don't do this. Don't do that. Focus on this. And I could have pushed through and done everything, but for what? Like for more stress, for more, to lose that peace. No, like the Lord isn't about that. He wants us to be having joy and peace in the process. And so, he doesn't expect us to be doing everything all at once. And so asking for wisdom and direction, and that's really helpful to write it out. Write everything out on a piece of paper. I just did it again this morning because I'm in the middle of a big project right now. And I just had to write everything out. And then I prioritize it. Say, okay, I'm going to finish this thing before I move on to this thing. And again, sometimes you're working on multiple things at once and it can be very successful and profitable. But I find more often than not, when you try to do too many things at the same time, you just get a little bit of results instead of the results that you could get, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
That's great advice. And what a great way to end on.
Well, I'm not going to let you end
Okay,
yet.
go ahead.
Thing. I wanted to go back just because, again, people aren't going to see the chat. Tina made a comment early on, and I really liked it when we were talking about the right left brain stuff. She wrote, art bridges the brain hemispheres, improves emotionally therapeutic. And I think that's really a great comment, and appreciate you for adding that. And we just wanted to shove that in so it'd be on the replay.
Yeah.
And I can see that.
And I like what Tina said just now, good things versus God things. There's a lot of really good things we can be putting our time to. And there's the 40-day prayer challenge by Mark Batterson. In there, he talks about one God idea. And I recently shared this on my podcast. Like if one God idea is worth more than 1,000 good ideas. And so when we're really following him, we're asking him for that God idea, he's giving it to us. It's going to produce more fruit than 1,000,000 good ideas could. And so I really, really encourage you to press in and really ask him for what is that God idea for you? Because we're all different and we all do things in a different way.
Oh, that's great. This is great. This has been great today. I think it's inspired us in the new creative ways and taught us something new about the Skillshare. And you're always inspirational. We're blessed to have you with us.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you. The replay will be up sometime in the next time. I'll be honest with you. And just next week, just so you know, and so it's on the replay, what we're going to talk about is that we have the holidays coming. And we're going to talk a little bit about self-care during the holidays and also how to plan your writing time during the holidays. If you're like Sophia trying to get something done, how do you get that on top of all this? So we're going to do some brainstorming. We might have a lot of you in earlier week and share some ideas, or maybe we can problem solve a little bit. And, somebody can sit
That'd be fun.
Think about that, so we'll make it really interactive next week and on that. So that's going to be next week. And thank you again, Shelley, for being with us.
Shelley.
Her last book is Broken Crayons, Still Color, author of over 40 some books. I think it's probably more than that now. I don't know what your final count is. And
I haven't counted lately.
And check out Author Audience Academy and stuff. It's just like I said, it's been a great resource, and she's also got a podcast and a blog. So we hope you check that out. I'm going to end the recording. See you all next week, and stay on here for a few minutes.